Back live with Andrew Bolt with the Bolt Report.
There's now a rising hostility in the left to Jews, often disguised as hatred just of Israel, which is held to impossible standards, double standards. For instance, we now see a move to boycott Eurovision next year because it will be hosted by Israel, since Eurovision this year was won by Israeli singer Netta. The petition to boycott Eurovision has been signed here by Nick Seymour, founding member of Crowded House, by hip-hop artist El Fresh the Lion, by former ABC presenter Helen Razer and others. And they complain that Israel's army kills Palestinian protesters, but then Palestinians are also paid to kill Israelis. With the latest today, activist Ari Fuld, who was stabbed in the back at a Jewish settlement by a Palestinian teenager who ran away, but was then chased by Fuld, who shot and wounded his killer before he collapsed and died. Joining me is Labor MP, joining me earlier was Labor MP Michael Danby, himself Jewish. Michael Danby, thank you so much for joining me. What should that footage we've just seen tell us?
That the people who are opposed to Israel and the security fence just don't understand what's going on. A 16-year-old boy fanaticised into killing and stabbing in the back a father of four, not just as we have crimes in Australia, but for political reasons, Andrew, for nationalist reasons. This is terrible. This is why the security fence in Israel stops 1,000 people a year having those kind of incidents happen, and that's why the Israeli troops have to be at the Gaza fence deterring Palestinians from crossing the border too. They have stated, Hamas, that they'd like to do this in every Israeli settlement on the in southern Israel.
Now, here's something I think that very few activists, particularly the young ones, understand. A teenager like this, stabbing someone random in the back, is there any reward that he might get from the Palestinian Authority that runs the West Bank?
As they say in French, exactement. That's the point. They're incentivised to do this. They receive a salary according to the number of years that they get sentenced for and the number of years that they're in jail for, and whether they've killed someone or only maimed someone. And when they say they don't get it directly from the United States or Australian taxpayers, what it does is the money is fungible. So the Palestinians actually probably do send some money on sewerage works, but the money they then get from their own taxes doesn't have to go towards the sewerage works because we pay for it and they pay for the terrorist salaries. They reckon, Andrew, that a third of the PA's budget goes on paying terrorist salaries. How shameful is that? What kind of society is that? And it's no wonder, even if you don't like Benjamin Netanyahu, that the Israelis can't make a deal with an authority like that.
Well, you mentioned taxpayers' dollars. Now, I wonder whether, Michael, Australia's been too blind in funding the Palestinian Authority. For instance, the federal government has only just halted $21 million in funding to Union Aid Abroad, a union-backed organisation, which then funnels the money to some of its projects over in Palestinian territories. But we only froze that the other day after newspapers like the Daily Telegraph discovered that some of this taxpayer money was finding its way to a Palestinian organisation that did employ a member of a listed terrorist group.
Well, you know, it's shameful when the union organisation doesn't inquire into what the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine employee who was employed by their agency, what they stand for and what they do. Can you imagine a mainstream union organisation in Australia employing someone from Daesh or from the Baader-Meinhof gang? You know, why is there a different rule for Israelis in the Middle East than there is for all other organisations? I'm against violence. I'm in favour of peaceful groups like the Tibetans and the Uyghurs and the Darfuris and every poor group of people who need some support as long as they're not involved in violence. And I say to a feeder in any organisation like that, they should be looking in to the kinds of people that they're employing and seeing very carefully that they don't use Australian taxpayers' money for these kinds of nefarious purposes.
Now, I mentioned at the top of this segment the Boycott Eurovision campaign. Now, that was backed by Green Senator Lee Rhiannon when she was still in Parliament, now backed by a number of artists and former ABC presenters. What do you make of that push?
I've never heard of any of these people when I've been running campaigns against the 300,000 people in concentration camps in North Korea. I never saw any of them when I was with Rabia Kadir, the leader of the Uyghur movement, when the Chinese tried to censor her film. I never heard from Nick Seymour or Helen Razer when we raised the case of the Darfuris, black African Muslim people in the west of Sudan who were persecuted by a racist government in Sudan. So I regard this as complete hypocrisy. Here is a weird song festival that these guys want to boycott because the only democracy in the Middle East where they have gay pride parades, etc., is being awarded the Eurovision contest. It's bizarre. It's Kafkaesque. You know, Syria, there are 600,000 people who've been murdered. Where is Helen Razer? In Saudi Arabia, the treatment of women. Where is Nick Seymour? All of these people have such double standards and are filled with hypocrisy. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm happy to debate any of them anytime, but of course, I'm very lucky to be here on Sky because I'll never be invited on the ABC, The Drum, or any of those programs to, you know, really hammer these people with facts. They know no facts, and the ABC don't want anyone who actually has the facts to be able to debate them. It's a challenge to any of them. I'll debate them thanks to you. I issue this challenge to Nick Seymour or Helen Razer any time, any place.
Mate, I'm afraid you haven't caught up with the memo. The left, you accepted, don't do debate. They do deplatforming. Just finally, Michael, there is now a by-election in Malcolm Turnbull's former seat of Wentworth. Perhaps 20% of the voters are Jewish. Now, I've long said that we should move our embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Israel's real capital, Jerusalem. Would a promise like that, do you think, help the Liberals or Labor to win in Wentworth?
I don't think it would be. I think it's a good idea. I've said that previously and I've said it on your program. I don't think it'd change people's views. I think the Australian Jewish community, as in my electorate, I used to compete with, we used to call him Menachem Turnbull, that's his Jewish name, to say I had more Jewish residents than he did. I don't think people make their judgments on one single issue. We're all Australians, we all have a whole range of issues. I think that could help, but I don't think it'd be formative. I think there are a couple of very good candidates. I think that Tim Murray is a very good Labor candidate, and Dave Sharma, the Liberal candidate, is a very formidable candidate as well.
You gave him a tick there, a good candidate.
Well, I said he's a good candidate, but so is Tim Murray, and that Karen Phelps is getting a lot of publicity from Fran Kelly and various other people who obviously support her views. It's going to be, in the wake of all of this infighting, a very bloody contest, and Dave Sharma is a wonderful intellectual kind of candidate. I'm not sure, with respect to him, that he's the best kind of time to enter federal politics with all of this blood and gore all around him.
No, I got that, mate, but thank you. I think you're right in giving Dave Sharma a big tick. He's a quality candidate.
Well, Tim Murray as well. He's been 20 years. Murray's been 20 years working for Australia overseas in economic entrepreneurship too, so you should give the Labor Party a tick too.
OK, mate. Hey, listen, this is your last go-round in politics. You're having a roast tonight from your colleagues. You're quitting politics after, I don't know, 2 decades, I think it is now. Mate, you've been a tireless fighter for human rights, and want to congratulate you for your time in politics.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Sincerely appreciate it. It's not over yet. I've got one more big issue, the Magnitsky Act, which has been introduced in Canada, UK and the United States. We're going to put it through here, and we're going to make Mr Putin pay the price for all of those Australians who were shot down over Ukraine.
Good on you, mate. Good luck to you. Michael Danby, thank you.
Thank you.